So,
Yeah,
what up,
looks like it.
guys? This is Casey is Raw, and this is our favorite arcade games of all time. And my guest today is Tex. What's up, Tex?
Yo. Oh, not much, man. How are you? Doing well. Hope everybody's listening's having a good Memorial Day.
Hell yeah, bro. We were talking off uh, from the recording, and like I literally just woke up, and a few minutes later, I saw Tex send me a message. It's like, oh, I'm up for it. I couldn't wait to do it.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
uh,
this is going to be fun. This is I mean, we were both, kids of the 80s and the 90s, so we really got the
mm,
arcade
yeah.
experience that these kids that the I mean, even the 20-year-olds now didn't even really get to experience it in its heyday.
Oh no.
So,
Oh no.
I
I
mean,
mean, like, shoot, even in the 2000s, the
right.
arcade was pretty much dead.
Right. I
Like,
mean, there's still some arcades. There's what do they call
oh yeah.
Dave and Buster's is the restaurant
Uh,
bar, whatever that
barcade.
has games and stuff. But
I
you
think
know,
they're called barcades. And
yeah, it it's making a comeback from people our age. But to have like one of my favorite memories was like, of course, I'm from a little old town of nothing here in Texas. Well, we had a skating rink, and it had a huge arcade in it. And that was like one of the few things in the town that you could go do as a kid, right? And
mm-hmm.
God, so many of the games on this list came from that arcade. Like it was just so incredible. It was amazing.
Oh, dude, like same thing. I mean, there was two skating rings that I would go, and more than likely than me hitting that skating ring, I was playing at the arcade, so I'll be on skates, but uh, well,
Yeah, that was always fun.
I'll be at the machines because it seems like they always had the most updated no, arcade games out there. I mean, that's
Right.
where like some like Mortal Kombat came out
Uh
and
huh.
Street Fighter and a bunch of the other games that I'm sure we're going to be listing soon.
Oh yeah.
But there was one of my local theater that actually shut down, but it actually uh looked like they're reopened under another brand. But right beside it used to be this giant arcade hall, I guess, or
Okay.
and I thought it was a great idea because when like your parents are like your movie is done and you're waiting for their movie to be done, so you
Right.
go to the arcade and they gotta be making bank being right beside one of the popular theaters at the time.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know like one of the movies on my or one of the games on my list, or actually two of them. Two
Hmm.
of them were from my local theater as a kid, and what's so cool, one of those arcade games is still sitting in that theater from whenever I was a kid. The very same machine, and it still works. Every time I go to the theater, I play this game.
Oh,
This is
really?
why it's so high on my list because I was probably 13 or 14 whenever I first played it. And
Hmm.
I mean, at 34, I can still go play the same game because I'm not sure they've ever moved it. Like maybe when they put new tile down on the floor or something, but this is like one of those small town movie theaters
Hmm.
that it has all the nostalgia and everything in it.
Yeah.
And to have that old of an arcade machinery is just so cool. It's just, oh my God. I can't wait to get into this list.
Well, I think some of these, I mean, yeah, you can buy some of these machines, but I'm pretty sure you can rent some of these as well. I think you can. At
Oh, it's
during,
very possible.
I mean, at the time, I don't know. I know watching the video, no, the a channel called the Game Chasers. I highly suggest people watch them. But
Game Chasers. I'll have to check them out.
oh yeah, they're awesome. But they went to these arcade machine auctions, and you can buy them straight up. Or there's a lot of times people will like. And on another show, I seen this dude just decked out his whole house in arcade machines.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and pinball machines and like skee ball too. So like that's just a dream right there.
Yeah, I didn't put it like I love skee ball. I mean, like I said, I'm a kid of the '80s, '90s. I didn't include skee ball or pinball. I went straight video arcade machines with this list.
Mm,
To me, skee ball and pinball are like on a different. It's a different scale. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
it's a different category because I mean, skee ball. I mean, you're chunking a wood ball trying to get it into the fucking holes down there. You know.
Yeah.
So whenever you said, what's my favorite video games, or arcade games, whatever, it
Yeah.
took my mind in a different place. And, so like some of mine are newer, some are older,
That's
but
fine.
all of them are, they're they're ones that stand out, and they're all of these titles, if I see them or even
Mm,
think about them, it takes me back to a happy place, to
hell
like a
yeah.
fun memory or something, So
Oh yeah. So I got an idea. We'll just start we'll go we could do like one by one, Like
yeah, sure.
you go ahead and you do I mean, we could do like our number one because like you said, they're pretty much almost after that it's pretty much interchangeable.
Right.
So and I was in the same boat and that's why I really didn't made a
Yeah,
list.
it's really hard to, well, to be fair, like three of mine are
Mm,
basically the same game, but it's made out of a different characters and
yeah.
different IP. It's like, so it's you play the game the same. It's
Hmm.
just from a different kind of, like I said, IP. But
I got
like,
thinking I
yeah,
know which three you're talking about. It's like the famous three.
right. Like there are three very famous ones. I'm gonna laugh if we both have this, if we both have these three. But my
Um.
my very favorite one, and I don't know if you've ever played it or not. It's a newer one. It's Aliens Armageddon. It's from the Alien
Oh,
movies.
really? Wow.
Yes. Like, I love scary movies. I love horror,
Hmm.
and I found this game some years ago at one of my, not my hometown theater, but the one that I frequent the most. And it's it feels like you're in the movie. It feels like you're actually on the spaceship and you're trying to hunt the alien. It's a one of my favorite horror games. It's very immersed type environment. It's just one of those things that when you get into the world, it feels like, oh my gosh, like the darkness and everything else. It's just so good. Like I said, Aliens Armageddon. Y'all need to check it out. There's a
I
couple
need
different versions of it, but it's a lot of fun.
something like that. Is it like one of those that you actually sit in, like a? There's some of those really old ones where, like Star Wars, where you could sit in there, like you can have the normal stand up arcade machines and then you got the ones that like mostly like racing where you
Right.
go and like it's all in casing.
Now, the one that I play, now they may have some that have the seat with it and all that, but the
Yeah.
one that I play, it's just got like the little section in front that where you set the big guns on it and
Mm,
you just go with it from there. But it is a massive machine. it is fucking huge. It takes up a lot of space in your arcade.
Oh,
So you don't see it as much. But it's, like I said, Aliens Armageddon. I love shooting. I love horror. I'm a big fan of the Alien franchise. And it's just, like I said, even when you're playing in a group of people, you get that isolation like they had in those movies. And it's just so much fun. So, it's all good.
Well, I would say my numero uno for me is X-Men. The X-Men arcade.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I'm a huge fan of X-Men, and
Oh, yeah.
I
Same here.
I still think it holds up. I mean, luckily this arcade machine I got right here plays it. So
Right.
if I have any whim to play it, I could just do it. And I I believe I've beaten it several times at the arcade. It probably takes like I wouldn't doubt like a few bucks, maybe $3 to $5 to beat the game in quarters.
Right. Right.
And that's if you're like pumping just like back then, just 1/4 is one gameplay.
Uh-huh.
Nowadays, I wouldn't doubt it's like 2, 3/4 or to a buck.
Oh, yeah. No, it the days of, just put in a quarter and play, those are long gone. You're going to be putting a few in there at least.
Oh
But
yeah.
that X-Men is also on my list as well. I've got that on there as well. It was so, it's like you said, it's a very expansive world that you're playing in.
Oh
And
yeah.
the character selection for me was like, holy shit. Like they
Hmm.
got everybody in.
I wish my only complaint about the game, they had more of the old school looking X-Men. And I believe came out probably at the same time when the cartoon was out. So
See, did they not look like they did on the cartoon? Because
no
I remember playing as Colossus, the big metal
Colossus
guy, and he looked just like he did on the cartoon, that '90s
Colossus
X-Men.
Colossus looks close, while
Oh, okay.
like Cyclops, I mean, he doesn't even look nowhere near like the one from the cartoon. I believe he might be wearing a blue singlet with the big white X, and then Wolverine is
Oh,
not in his yellow and God, is it yellow and orange? I can look.
no, the yellow costume is yellow and blue. Then he
Yes, you're
has the
right.
orange and brown costume.
And in the arcade, it's orange and brown version. I mean,
Oh,
and I had no. And after that, it was like try to remember. I know you got Cyclops, Colossus, Wolverine.
yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Uh,
They had some
oh,
woman, and it was not even Jubilee. I think they called her Bedazzled but
yeah.
and
Well, she's also an X-Men. She was just one of the lesser known at the time. I believe that Bedazzler was like a rock singer. I
yeah.
forget what her mutant powers were, but she was like one of the lesser popular characters. She
Hmm.
was mainly in the comics and stuff. I think she briefly appeared on the animated show in the '90s,
Oh,
but
dude,
yeah,
I love that cartoon. I mean, what's
yeah,
funny?
that one was good.
Pizza Hut was having a thing with Marvel and X-Men, and I guess if you go over there and eat a pizza, and you can buy a tape, and you can buy like one or two tapes, and we got
Hmm.
the first episode on tape.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, that X-Men animated series, that was like, I love, it was Fox Kids, I believe it was, they would show like Batman the animated series, X-Men the animated
Mm-hmm.
series, Spider-Man. They had all these different shows.
Yes.
And there was like 2 to 3 hours every Saturday morning or whatever it was where you could just ingest all of these things. And
oh yeah.
like, you know, there's a reason why it's famous for, getting your cereal and you just plop down in front of the TV for fucking all Saturday morning.
Oh,
it was
hell
just
yeah.
so much fun back in the day.
Yeah, and that's what's sad nowadays. I mean, you don't really have that for kids unless you put on Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network, and it's not even the same.
There's more options these days, but it doesn't feel as special because most of the cartoons suck. But that's a whole different thing. It is what it is.
No, I agree.
Secondly on my list, I have, and you may have played this one. Did you ever play House of the Dead?
Oh, is that? I'm thinking is it another shooting game?
Yes.
Then I would say probably yeah.
It was a. This is an older one, and this is one that I was talking about a minute ago, where it was in my hometown theater from whenever I was a kid, and it's still there. Yeah. This is the game I'm talking about. It's like it's a smaller cabinet because it's older, but it's got like a blue and an orange pistol attached to it, and that's the gun. Like it feels and it's shaped like a real pistol, and basically, like when the game opens up, you like cut into this creepy house. And you see like these zombie looking things, these scary monsters all, squared, like obviously because the graphics aren't as good as they are now. And it's just such a nostalgia hit for me because, like I said, I've literally had this game my whole life. If my theater ever shuts down, this is one that I would try to buy just because God knows how much money I've put into this game over 30 years. But I love it.
It's almost like you ever watch Seinfeld?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
you remember the episode where George Costanza, their old pizza joint, I guess they used to get together, and George would have one great gameplay on Frogger.
Oh yeah.
And they went back to this pizza joint after like 20 plus years, and they're still running, but they're damn near about to go bankrupt. So George Costanza bought the Frogger machine because cool. It still had his high score on it.
Oh wow!
And then he still wanted. Seinfeld told him, like, the second you pull the power on that, the score is gone. It's like, and so they had to keep the power on it somehow to transfer the arcade machine over to his place.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Well, and eventually, I might try to see if I can sneak that scene in here. I'll probably look for a gift, but where he's playing Frogger in real life with the machine, and then eventually loses. He eventually loses.
Oh, that's great.
He eventually loses the machine to a semi, but
oh Jesus!
I mean, I can like if the plate, like you said, they shut down, you might get lucky to get it. I mean, these machines, oh god, they can go between hundreds to. If it's a really, really popular machine, I guess it can go thousands. But
see, I'm not. But like that's the thing. Like House of the Dead, I believe they made one movie with that title, but it wasn't like. Yeah, but it wasn't like a huge movie. It was one of those movies that went like right to DVD or something.
Oh,
so it's not like it's a huge. It's not like a very popular franchise or anything, and it's just like it's a very generic shoot 'em up zombie game. It's basically what it is. It's not Resident Evil. It's nothing like that. It's just we're gonna shoot scary monsters, basically. And for a kid, that was just like back whenever I was a kid, they had that game, and then they had that Cruising USA game where it was sports car game. Like that was like they had two of the Cruising USA so you could race each other, and then they had the House of the Dead game. And I mean, I liked them both, but Cruising USA doesn't make my list, whereas House of the Dead does, because it was just so much fun, dude. It was great.
Well, I know you're a horror person, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, then I'm a gun guy too. It's like, it's fucking perfect, you know. So,
well,
what's your number 2, bud?
Oh, like I said, it's interchangeable, and I don't want to go with the other two, but I'm gonna probably throw out interchangeable. It would be NBA Jam. NBA.
Oh, so I totally forgot about that one, but that one was fun.
Oh,
I completely forgot about that game.
Because I love playing that at the arcade, and also not only that, I would love playing that at home on my Sega Genesis. But it was like what was cool back then, like the arcade machine was like the theater, like the movie theater. I mean, you got it, played it there first, and like 6 months to a year later, it came on console.
Yeah.
So, to me back then, you couldn't even really tell the difference. Nowadays, if you can easily like get YouTube channels, they'll have like arcade to compare to the consoles, and like, oh yeah, it's night and day how the arcade still looks better. But I mean, that's how I felt like when like Mortal Kombat came out. I was like, I mean, it looks damn near the same, but but I mean, when you're young and you're like, oh, we got it on console now. But yeah,
NBA Jam, was that the one where if you scored enough points, it would go, he's on fire?
Yes.
And like the dude would literally be on fire?
Yeah. Oh, the ball.
Okay.
The ball would be on fire.
Or the ball would be on fire, whatever it was. I just remember something was on fire because it was a very dramatic, he's on fire, you know, like it was like very eye-catching or whatever. But it was I loved playing that. That wasn't one of my favorites, but it was a lot of fun to play. Like, I was never a big basketball guy, but honestly, when you're playing a fucking arcade video games, it's more, you're just excited to be fucking playing them because you don't have them at home, you know?
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Like you say, I'm not an NBA guy either. It was just something fun. And I would default to Chicago Bulls because they were the greatest at the time.
Well, yeah. I mean, you had Michael Jordan and everything else. It's hard to not go. I mean, who else were you going to be? You know what I mean? Like, there's really no other option at that point.
Well,
especially for down here. Whenever I mean, obviously the Mavericks were down here because I mean they still are, but they weren't winning shit at the time. So, you know.
And in Oklahoma, we didn't have freaking Thunder until like in the 2000s, and I think they moved from. I could be wrong, from Washington when something happened, and
I have no idea.
And they just stayed.
Right.
But no, I mean, it's a good game. I loved it back in the day, but let's go with number 3 for you.
Well, my number 3, and this was a fight for number 1, but my number 3 that I'm going to mention here is Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh,
I love Mortal Kombat 2 because it had my favorite character, Reptile, on that game.
Oh.
I love me some Reptile. Like, probably one of the most underrated, misused. Like Reptile is always the guy that the character has to kill or beat up to put over. Like Reptile never got to be the star, right? That's why I like green is my favorite color. So whenever I saw that, I'm like, ooh, that looks cool. You know, then he had like the snake head under the mask or whatever. I always thought that was fun. I love Mortal Kombat 2. It was like, yes, the first one is great, but when 2 came out, number one, it was the first one that I ever played. And secondly, the violence was upped because I guess the video game makers saw like what people liked about the first one, and they gave us more of that.
Oh yeah.
And Mortal Kombat 2 is an incredible game. I recently saw at Walmart. Well, I'll say recently, within the last year or two, those 1-up machines.
Yeah.
You can buy. It has Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and maybe 3. I'm not sure.
I think that's what it is, and the machine is actually wrapped in Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah, it looks just like the classic consoles, like the big cabinet or whatever, with the decals and everything on it. And it looks like I've never pulled the trigger on one, but I came very close to buying that one. But that was I love Mortal Kombat 2. That's a great game.
Well, that's what I got right here. I got an arcade 1-up right here. But I would suggest to people do what this one has been done. This has been modded. This got over 800 games on here. If you're gonna if you didn't get it modded, you have 3 this is the Street Fighter 2 edition. So you would have 3 versions of Street Fighter 2. So I'm like, and how many times are you gonna play it before it's like, oh, it gets boring, you know?
Right.
So I mean, that's why I always suggest have someone try to find someone locally that can mod this, so you can have a bunch of games. And luckily, my local toy store had this, and yeah, it was actually priced $100 more, but it only came with the machine already built, had the riser, and it's already been modded. So,
cool.
and they added a couple things here and there, so I was okay with that. Plus, the story about that is I sold my most expensive game at the time to get it.
Oh wow.
And, yeah. Well, I mean, what's funny, this game that I sold was around $400 at the time. Now, because
holy shit.
Oh, you think that's crazy? Because of the pandemic, it actually it went up to $1,000.
Good God.
Yeah, so
I didn't realize a video game was worth that much. Holy shit.
oh yeah, there's some of them are in the tens of thousands of dollars. Where
wow.
And that's another story, because there's some stuff you gotta watch out if you're gonna go get some very expensive and rare games. But
anything worth that much money, people are gonna try to fake and reproduce and everything else, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, like the story about that game. There was a store up in Pennsylvania called St. Charles, and when I bought it, because it's like I couldn't believe it, and they only had it for $50, and it's been floating between $400 to $600 at the time, and I played it. It was a fun game. It's just which one I'm gonna play more, that game or this? So
yeah, that's true. I mean, and if you've got something worth that much money, I mean, it's pretty good trade bait. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
hell yeah.
So
that's crazy. So what's your number 3, bud? What's your and obviously obviously all of these, besides the first ones that we mentioned, are interchangeable. So it's
Yeah,
not necessarily number 3, but it'll
yeah.
be mentioned number 3.
Oh, I remember one thing before I go on to 3, but I want to mention about this about Mortal Kombat. We're probably gonna
Okay.
have we might have to split this up because we're already half an hour in. But
Right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
so what? Here's the kicker. Some people like, oh, Nintendo's so childish that they would censor the Mortal Kombat
Blood.
1.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the kicker: the one on the Sega Genesis. If you don't do the blood code, it's even worse. They censored it way more than Nintendo did.
Really?
Yeah. So if you
Holy
didn't,
shit.
do the blood code, they were actually way worse than Nintendo.
See,
But
I had Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis, and I guess I did the blood code because mine had all the violence and everything.
I mean, you'll have the violence. It's just like the gore be like turned way down. Like,
Yeah, no, see, I think mine was full bore. At least it seemed like it. Like if you rip somebody's, spine out of their back, you
yeah,
saw blood dripping from it and everything else. Like I couldn't imagine it got much worse than that. I mean, I could be wrong,
no,
but hell, I don't know.
no, that would definitely have the blood code. And once you had it turned on, I think it's turned on. Like you don't,
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure. I think once you did the blood code, you don't have to do it again, but I could be wrong. But
That's crazy.
like I said, they were a lot more censored than Nintendo was. But Nintendo
Yeah.
because they didn't have the blood code, so uh they get their name uh you know dragged through the mud.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Yeah. That's
But
crazy.
I'm trying to, like you said, I'm interchangeable, so I'm gonna spread some of these, like the big three, out. So
Right.
I'm gonna go for one of my top ones. This is a great game. It's called Sunset Riders, and
Sunset Riders. I don't
yeah,
know that
you can play as a cowboy, and you could be it's a shoot 'em up. You go
one. Okay.
around and you shooting up all these, I guess, bandits that comes crawling around, and
Oh, cool.
it's a fun game. It's really hard to describe, except just going around shooting these bandits, and then at the very end, you shoot up a boss that's wanted.
Oh,
So
wow.
what's cool, they have the wanted posters that roll right out, and obviously that's the boss. So they do have a couple versions on the Sega Genesis and on the, well, I mean, they got a version on the Sega Genesis and on one on the Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo is more superior because they have all four players, and I mean, you could choose out of four players, while Sega Genesis only had two, but they're both great games.
Oh, wow.
And
I'll have to look that one up. That sounds interesting.
not only that, it's on most consoles now in their eShops. I believe at least I know it's on the Switch. I'm pretty sure it's on like the PlayStations and the Xbox now.
Mhm.
That's what's good about the modern systems lately, that they've been putting out a bunch of these arcade games for like $8 a piece. I'm like, I'll pay that for like an arcade game.
Right.
So it's
Yeah, that's not a bad deal.
it's great. It's awesome. And I mean, if they're not going to do a retail version, like an actual physical item, then yeah, I want to pay cheap for a digital version. But yeah, that's a great game. I suggest check it out. But
Sunset Riders. Yeah,
yeah,
that sounds cool. Like I'll have to look up on YouTube like gameplay footage of it or whatever just to see what it looks like or whatever.
And what's funny,
That sounds pretty cool.
There's a cartoon with like these they're cowboys, but they're actually actual cows. I'm trying, and they use the same what's called the game engine. It's damn near a copy and paste of Sunset Riders. So,
Oh wow.
but I believe I remember that cowboy cartoon, but yeah, check it out. It's
That's
great.
badass.
Oh,
Yeah, that sounds cool. I'm gonna
it's
check that
awesome.
out.
What's your
But
number 4?
for my fourth, it's another more modern game. And this is based off of the Terminator movie that Christian Bale played John Connor in. Terminator Salvation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever played it or not. This
No.
game is a fucking blast, dude. It's
Is
got this massive gun. You get to hold. It's got like grenade launchers on it. It's got the regular gun. It's got like this. It's like a massive screen. It's like a huge TV, right?
Yeah.
And you're like thrown like as sacrilege as it is. Terminator Salvation is my favorite of the Terminator movies, but this came out like right after the Dark Knight did because Christian Bale had just did the Dark Knight movie, and this game, it's like when you start in, you're in like a helicopter, and you see all of the Terminators just killing shit. You're in like this disaster world, this gigantic war zone,
Yeah.
and you're just plopped down right in the middle of it. Me and my friends played this like for years. Like hell, I still see it every once in a while. But I took my kids to a birthday party at some knockoff Chuck E. Cheese, and like the game is very noticeable because the cabinet on the back, like on top of the screen, it's a gigantic Terminator with the red glowing eyes. So you can see it from across the room. It's like, holy shit, this is fucking cool.
You're like, I gotta play that.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. I mean, and like I said, the gun is fuck. It takes, like I said, I'm a big dude, and it takes me, my arms are stretched out to hold this thing properly. It is fucking massive. But it's just so much fun. And like, the gun vibrates when you shoot it. Like, so it's like, so it feels kind of real. It's got like a rumble pack in it, I guess. I don't really know.
Yeah.
Kind of like on the old N64 controller you could do or whatever. But it's just so fun. It's, you get like 20 seconds of, them telling you the story, putting you into the world, the fight for freedom has begun, blah, 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 blah. And then you're just thrown into it. It's just like, let's fucking party. Let's do this thing. And I don't know, if you ever get a chance to play it, y'all go check it out because it's a lot of fun and you'll spend a lot of money playing it because it's cool.
Those Terminator movies, the later ones, I mean, I think they get a little bad rap because they try to compare it to 1 and 2, mainly against 2, and they're like, oh, it's not as good.
The last one is god awful, horrible. Never watch it because it's just this woke trash that they completely undermine the entire series for some virtue signal nonsense. But
is that the one where his mom was back?
Yes, it's the one where Linda Hamilton or whatever came back.
Yeah,
and they have like the woman who's the Terminator in the film, and she's like this very mannish looking woman, some kind of, I don't know what she is, one of these lefty kind of weirdos, whatever. But it's just not like they kill off John Connor in the beginning of the movie. Whenever John Connor is literally the whole fucking franchise. Like, he's the one who leads the rebellion against the Terminators. But hey, who am I to give a fuck? So what the hell?
Well, I was glad when they brought his mom back. but I was like having a bunch of. I mean, I was cool with that, but the whole thing with woman Terminators that started back in with T3 because I mean the woman was hot who played the woman
Right.
Terminator,
Yeah.
but honestly they're like, oh, we gotta have a man Terminator, you gotta have a woman Terminator
Right.
because someone could say it's sexist instead
Well,
of
they literally kill off John Connor to make an illegal immigrant Mexican girl the new John Connor. Like, how much bigger of a fucking virtue signal can you get? I mean, good God, you're slapping us in the fucking face with it at this point. And like, they completely cucked out, Arnold in the movie. He was pretending to be human, and he was married to a woman, and
oh, that's right.
like his only role in the film was to like train them how to shoot. That was pretty much it. Like they
Hold on,
completely nerfed the Terminator. Like what the fuck, dude?
well, hold on. Was that like just a person? I think when Arnold was playing in that, was he still a Terminator or was that just a
Yes.
human? I thought that was
No,
just
he
him.
was still the Terminator in that
I
movie.
because I thought
Yeah.
maybe that's like the host, the person that they
No,
take a sample from,
that
and
was the same Terminator from the original movies in that timeline. It
okay.
was weird. Yeah, it was not
I mean,
great.
I mean, well, shoot, all like, well, all three versions of T1, T2, and T3, he died.
Well, yeah, but in the new movie, they go back in time. They go back to the end of T2 and they
Mm,
rewrite that ending. So it resets the timeline. You know what I mean? So everything after that doesn't count. Terminator is one of those franchises that has like 15 different timelines to it. So it's
yeah,
pretty much a pick your own adventure at this point. But
I
yeah,
don't like
it was
that because
weird.
I don't like that because I kind of like how what like Marvel's doing. Like, I mean, you can watch a certain movie and like Black Panther or Doctor Strange, and you could just watch the movie or you can interlink them for the whole MCU. Like you can
Right.
watch it from the first Iron Man all the way up to the recent Doctor Strange movie. So,
Well, they're about to get a lot weirder because they're opening up that multiverse angle and everything else. So it's
oh,
about to get trippy as fuck. So
I mean that was
that's what they
awesome.
just did with it. Yeah. So
With with
I don't know.
the,
It's fun.
I feel like Terminator, they should have kept them this straight, have one timeline, but
Well, to be fair, that film was not the first one to jump the timeline. They've done it 3 or 4 times already. So
yeah.
they weren't the first one.
No, and I know, I believe Halloween did it too, where like they went
Yes.
back and
There's like 4 different timelines for Halloween that you can go do, and then like all of these popular franchises, you know, they know there's a reason why movie franchises that already have an audience keep getting remade because it's guaranteed to make money. So that's the reason why they do stuff like that.
uh, all right, I think
But it is what it is.
you just did your four, right?
Yes, sir. Number
And I think,
4.
and gosh, for me, I'm gonna go to a Neo Geo game. Actually, I just did this one. It's another sports
Okay.
game. Oh, I hadn't put it. I mean, I had the arcade version of video, but it's called Super Baseball 2020,
Super
and
Baseball 2020. Okay.
yeah, it's about of course, baseball of the future. And even though it's
I
now
like that gimmick.
and now it's 2 years past, but you could play.
Baseball of the past. It's the
Yeah.
pandemic baseball. You
Oh,
know.
it is the pandemic, but it's cool. They play in an arena called the Egg or Cyber Egg, but
Wow.
everything is like under glass and like the stadium's under glass. Like you can't
Huh.
hit the crowd with the ball. And I'm shocked we hadn't got to that yet because I mean I guarantee you there's injuries when people get hit by a fly ball by a foul ball, you know?
I've been hit by a fly ball at a Texas Rangers game whenever I was a kid. But you know, it's part of it. You have a headache for a little while, or you have a bruise or whatever, and you go on about your life. It is what it is. Stop being a pussy, you know. So it's all
But
good.
but it's a future realistic version of baseball and you could actually there's like a team there are probably a couple teams of robots. They kind of
Oh,
look
that's cool.
they look like one of them looks like R2D2 out there. That's what it looks like. And then
Calling on you, Disney. Go check it. Go check your shit out. Somebody's stealing from you, motherfucker.
yeah, and it's a cool game. I really like it. But I could never win. There was one time I did win, but I was just testing something out. And it was like, oh, I'm actually winning for once, and I'm not recording.
The
But
one time I do good, what the hell? You know,
yeah, and it's a great game. It's a very good sports game. So,
that's awesome.
um,
Hell yeah.
yeah. So, what's your numero fifth?
I guess my numero 50.
Five.
I'm
That's what I
gonna
was
do a
gonna say.
sports game. I'm gonna do a sports game as well. But that is the NASCAR racing game because I'm a huge NASCAR fan.
Mm-hmm.
And this has the that like to go back to the Alien game. This has the full console. Like when you walk up to this game, it literally has the seat that you sit in, and it has like the roll cage that comes around you and everything with
Yeah.
this huge screen. And it was so cool because the screen kind of curved on the side like it was a window of the
Mm-hmm.
car, and it had cars actually from NASCAR in it, like Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Ricky Rudd, all them guys, whatever.
Yeah.
And you could pick your car and you could pick which tracks you wanted to run. You could do a single race, or if you wanted to keep spinning quarters, you could play
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 races. And like the seat wasn't motion activated, but it had like that some movability in it, and it rumbled like you were actually in it, like you were driving. And one of the most immersive experiences, like kind of like a simulator, basically. And of course, the graphics weren't great. This was like, around 99 to 2000, I want to say, whenever I first played this game. But it was a lot of fun. And it had a good number of drivers, a good number of tracks you could choose. And, of course, you could switch if you wanted to be like, if you were in the car, or you could
Yeah.
do like the third person thing and be completely behind the car. But, just different ways of doing it. And it was a lot of fun. It was one of the better racing games I ever played.
Well, I think for my number five, I gotta throw out one of the easier ones is Turtles, and I think Turtles actually would have been
Yes.
I think by number two, quite frankly.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I got
but
that one on my list as well.
so I figured throw that one out because definitely one of my favorites, and it's one of those games too that I played all the way to the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And this is this is part of the, like I said, this is part of the big three. So
Now,
yeah,
which turtle is your go-to?
I,
Which one are you?
Michelangelo.
Oh, see, I've always been a Raphael guy. Raphael was always my turtle. He was
What?
always the ass kicker of the group. You know what I mean? I always liked
Yeah. I don't know. Kind of like Michelangelo because he's the party dude.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh no, Michelangelo's great. Like, yeah, I love all of them, but if I had to go one, I'm going Raphael. Plus, he had those cool knives and everything.
yeah, here you know what's the kicker? Later in the cartoon, and actually I don't know if it's Europe or Japan that they made it. They censored the hell out of Michelangelo because it was nunchucks.
Really?
Yeah, you have.
Well, I know that they did it with Raphael on the newest Ninja Turtle show made by Nickelodeon. Instead of the knives, he had like these arm clubs or something like.
What?
Yeah, they changed it up because I guess you can't have a knife anymore. That's too scary. Like they nerfed him down, for whatever. Like I don't fucking know. I don't understand it. It's
Here's the
bullshit.
here's the kicker. You have Leo has a giant sword, the katana.
Yeah.
He has two katanas. What's more dangerous than that?
Yeah. I
And
would
then
much rather fight the guy with the tiny knife than a fucking sword. But hey,
yeah, and then
yeah.
like you say, I think they're called size. The
Sides, yeah, that's what I couldn't remember the word, but yeah, the size, yeah, you're right, yeah.
and Raphael has the size. Okay, whatever what they call Donatello has. I'm trying to think. It's just a long stick, but I
Bow
can't.
staff, I think is the term.
Probably.
I think it's a bow staff, yeah. He's got a big ass stick. Donatello has a whoop ass. Like if I were to hold it, I would say this is my whoop ass stick. Where if you get out of line, I'm gonna whoop your ass. You know what I mean? That's what I would fucking say. But it is what it is. But that
and
game was so much fun. I've got that on my list as well. So far, 2 out of the 3 we've both picked up on. I'm
oh
curious to
yeah.
see if we can get the hat trick here.
Oh, I
But
wouldn't doubt it. But
it's a so much fun, dude.
here's the kicker. Um, they switched Michelangelo's nunchucks in the cartoon, and I think officially to a grappling hook. I'm like,
That's gay.
I'm
Fuck
like,
that.
I
No.
was like a
Fuck you.
grappling, like grappling hook. That's not even a. I don't even think consider that as a weapon. I mean, it's
No. A
it's a,
grappling hook is a transportation device, not a fucking weapon. That's
yeah.
bullshit.
And I mean,
That's so stupid.
but it's funny when I was growing up, we went to Mexico and my parents got me nunchucks and
Oh hell yeah.
they confiscated on the border. So I was like, but what's funny nowadays, these stores I go to all the time game shopping, that
Huh?
not only they have swords. I don't know if they're fully metaled or what, or they're probably
Right.
not sharp. They sell all types of knives, like Wolverine
Oh yeah.
knives, and now I think they have fake versions of nunchucks, and now they got one of those. I think what about those soft pellet guns? So they're going.
Oh yeah.
They're kind of scooting away from selling like music, video games, toys, and uh, DVDs, and like they're having more and more weapon-like stuff in here.
Right.
So I was like, so it's wild because I'm like, I bet money you still have to be at least 18 to get any of those swords, though.
I
And
would think
knives.
so. Yeah. I
But
highly doubt like a 14-year-old's going to walk in and be like, hey, can I have that metal katana on the wall? And they sell it to them. I would like to think that's not the case, but who fucking knows anymore? People have lost their minds. Who knows?
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the
do-
recording, and we
Yeah.
can start again. So
Yeah.
So we'll be right back.
Everybody make sure